Hello. Today we'll be talking about cellular respiration and all like the processes that happen within that respiration to make ATP in our bodies. So we'll start off with glycolysis. Glycolysis, I see it more as like the foundation of where everything began. So glycolysis first starts off with just glucose. Glucose will start this. That's why it's called glycolysis. So glucose will react with ATP, so it'll become phosphorylated in a way to make ATP 6 phosphorylated. So it just basically means that ATP has been phosphorylated. Oh, sorry, glucose has been phosphorylated. And then that glucose will then like turn into fructose by reacting with some isomer. So it will be a fructose 6 phosphated, molecule. And then another ATP will be introduced into that fructose. ATP will be a byproduct, and it will become fructose biphosphate. So basically, in turn, it just becomes, because you know what, it's biphosphate because it has two phosphates in there. It has two P's from the ATP. That's why it's fructose. It's still fructose, it's biphosphate. It has more phosphate groups. That's all it is. And then in that, it will make G3P. From that fructose biphosphate, it'll make G3P. And from that G3P, sorry, I'm the windows. G3P will react with NAD. NAD is a molecule that will then react with NAD, and then it will add with two proton molecules that are in the membrane that will stick to it and make NADH in that whole line of process. And then in the line of process, in that whole line, I will sum it down to that 4 ATP will be created from when that NAD reacts with that NADH. It'll react with a bunch of other chemicals that are in the line that'll make 4 ATP, which goes a net of a 2 ATP gain from glycolysis. And at the end of it all, we will end up with pyruvate. Pyruvate, which then takes us to the Krebs cycle. The Krebs cycle uses pyruvates and reacts. Pyruvate reacts with acetylcholine. Acetylcholine is two carbons, but it will react with a 4-carbon molecule, which then will make it a 6-carbon molecule. And that 6-carbon molecule is important because it is citric. And this is why Krebs cycle is also called citric acid cycle, because it creates citric and the other molecule of an acid, which is a proton. So it makes citric acid. So that 6-carbon molecule will react with NAD to make NADH, which will make it into a 5-carbon molecule. And then, same as last time, this 5-carbon molecule will again react with NAD to make NADH. And then it'll make a 4-carbon molecule. And that 4-carbon molecule will then phosphorylate an ADP to make it ATP. But that 4-carbon molecule doesn't exactly phosphorylate. It's more just a proton that's in the air, in the membrane, that will then stick to that ADP to make ATP. And that 4-carbon molecule will then react with FAD. FAD will then become FADH2, which is another molecule that's also important for the Krebs cycle. And then that 4-carbon molecule will then again react with NAD to make NADH. And then it'll become just a 4-carbon molecule again. And that 4-carbon molecule will then react with acetylcholine, which we then talked about in the very beginning, and become a 6-carbon molecule. So you see how it goes into a full cycle? In that full cycle, we create just 1 ATP, which is not a lot, but we'll see why it's important later. Which then takes us to the electron transport system. The electron transport system is the name. It's a system where it transports electrons. I keep it short, but it basically uses a bunch of electrons that are donated from many of the byproducts that were in the Krebs cycle and the glycolysis to make a bunch of, to transport the proton all the way to the proton pump. The proton pump is what really creates the ATP, because it's because all those proton molecules are the gradient is too different. in other words. So there's too much here and there's too little here, which creates an imbalance. And what's proton want to do? They want to go to the low concentration. That low concentration will then, it has to go through one little specific pump, which will then create ATP. And you need 4 of the hydrogen, which is the proton, to go into it to make 1 ATP. And that's how it goes. It'll make those 4 make 1 ATP, and then in the electron transport chain, which has to go all the way to reach that pump, will then create it'll create H2O, which is the water, and then it'll also react with FADH to convert it to FAD.